If you don't think jungle tracking's hard, watch this clip. So how does a clip from some random silver Korean game prove that jungle tracking is difficult? Because it's actually a high diamond game. So yeah, jungle tracking is hard, but do you know what isn't hard? Tracking if you're already subscribed to the channel. Nah, but in all seriousness, this video is part of a series called League Lab that I'm making to teach you guys how to play like a diamond player. If you haven't watched the other episodes in this series, I suggest you check them out first, then come back here. And then if you like the content, you could always subscribe. So, what is jungle tracking, you may ask? Well, it's the ability to track the jungler through Fog of War so you don't have to see them on your minimap to know where they are. That sounds ridiculously hard, right? And I wouldn't blame you for thinking that, because I've seen all these other guides that are like,
well, that's great. We have some information from the Evelyn. We know where she was. I pressed tab and see 17 CS. She obviously got a minion on the mid lane, and that means 4 camps were done. Most likely red, Raptors, blue, and the Scuttle.
But let's be realistic here, lads. We aren't rocket scientists. No one wants to do this CS counting bullshit for a tiny bit of LP. Hell, even some challenger players don't waste their time with it. Being able to count CS and track the exact location of the enemy jungler really isn't necessary unless maybe you play jungle yourself. Instead, all you need to do is track which side the enemy jungler is on and place good wards. If you can learn to do both these things well, you'll be well on your way to challenger. So, if you want to keep track of which side the enemy jungler is on, then the first thing you need to do is take note of where they start. This part is really easy. You just pay attention to who on the enemy team leashed. If you see that the enemy bot lane is late to lane, then the enemy jungler started bot, and the same thing applies if it's top lane that's late to lane. In the clip you've just seen, Aatrox arrived to his lane late, so that means the enemy jungler started top. And if the enemy jungler starts without a leash, then you should try and play safe until you see them on a ward. Once you figure out where they've started, then you need to pay attention to the game timer. The first scuttle spawns at 3:15, and by that time, both junglers have moved over to the other side of their jungle from where they started. Usually, a play will happen for that crab, or there will be a gank on that side of the map, and then both junglers will reset. Whenever a jungler resets on one side, more than 9 times out of 10, they will move over to the other side of the map after leaving base. After the first reset, there are way more things to consider, so it becomes much harder to keep track of them. Usually, after moving to a new side, a jungler will either clear and make a play, or clear and switch sides. To work out whether they'll make a play or not, you have to think about all the variables that I've got listed on screen at the moment. If you expect them to make a play, then respond accordingly. However, if you can realise that there is no play for them to make, then you know that the enemy jungler will clear all their camps on that side of the map that they're currently on, and then move across to the other side. And the crazy thing is, you don't actually need to know exactly when they will move across. As long as you realise that they're about to, then you can stop them from making any plays by making use of good warding on that side of the map, which I'll talk about in a sec. Then all you need to do once they do switch sides is repeat the same thought process. Will they go for a play, or do another clear then move back across the map? Every time you feel like a jungler switch sides, ask yourself these questions. Over time you'll get better and better at answering them, and you'll be avoiding every gank perfectly like some crazy wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry. I'm a what?
If that was kinda hard to follow, you can feel free to rewind, but there will be a summary of everything at the end, so don't panic. So once you've got tracking which side the enemy jungler is on down, all you need is decent warding and you'll probably never die to a gank again. So as for ward spots, they can generally be fit into one of 2 categories: defensive and offensive. Defensive wards can be placed close to your lane and protect you from most plays as they happen, whereas offensive wards are further away from your lane and they spot the enemy jungler before they can even begin the play. Offensive wards are very risky to place since you can get spotted and killed easily while doing it, so you should only place them when you know you're safe to. That is, whenever the enemy jungler is on the opposite side of the map to you, or when you've just pushed in your lane and the enemy laner is stuck on their tower and can't come to ambush you with their jungler if you do end up getting spotted. If you can't safely place an offensive ward, or if you simply don't have time to, then you should place a defensive ward instead. A well-timed defensive ward is placed when the enemy jungler arrives on your side of the map, since the ward should end up lasting until they leave. This means it doesn't matter when it expires since the enemy jungler is long gone anyway. Obviously if you play mid lane then you aren't on one side of the map, so you should try to place wards on the side where you think the enemy jungler is, and then hang towards the other side of the lane. As for where those ward spots are, I'll go through them role by role and you can pause on the one you need. These are all the defensive mid lane ward spots I'd recommend. Obviously these are assuming your blue side. and these are the offensive ones. These are all the defensive wards for top lane blue side or bot lane red side, and these are the offensive ones. Finally, these are the defensive wards for red side top lane or blue side bot lane, and these are the offensive ones. If you find yourself struggling with jungle tracking, or if you just want to build up that feel that I mentioned earlier quicker, you should go into your replays and watch the games from your own perspective. Put the vision settings to your team only and track the jungler in your head as you watch your own gameplay. You can turn the vision on every minute or so to see how accurate you were with your tracking. Doing this helps you improve at it quickly, but it isn't necessary if you can't be bothered. I've only done it once or twice before, so take my word as evidence for that. Remember to watch all the other videos in the League Lab series if you want to hit Diamond. Also, if you found this video helpful, then feel free to hit like and sub for more content in the future. I've got even more educational stuff coming soon, so stay tuned for that. In a bit, lads.